Hi, I'm Emma, and I'm so excited to welcome you to Gain Insight.
And I'm Alex, your co-host on this journey through words and imagination.
Welcome to Gain Insight, the podcast where stories become worlds you can step into.
Each episode takes you beyond language lessons into adventures, mysteries, and unforgettable moments.
Whether you're learning English or just love great storytelling, these tales are crafted to pull you in.
So sit back, relax, and let's dive into a world of imagination.
This is Gain Insight, where every story is a journey. Story 1. The Lighthouse That Remembered Names. Welcome listeners, tonight I'm taking you to a lonely cliffside, where a lighthouse stands guard over the restless sea. It's been there for over a century, lighting the way for ships through storms and fog. My job was simple: inspect it, fix it, and go home. But as I stepped into the lighthouse that night, I knew this was no ordinary assignment. The heavy iron door creaked open on its own as if it had been expecting me. Inside, the air smelled of sea salt, and rust and dust swirled in the lantern light. I climbed the narrow staircase, each step groaning under my weight. Halfway up, I froze. Someone had whispered my name. I spun around, but I was alone. At the top, the lantern glowed brighter than I'd ever seen, bathing me in golden light. Suddenly, flashes of memories I'd never lived filled my mind. Storms, rescues, sailors crying out for help. The lighthouse spoke, its voice low but clear. Emma. It showed me a vision, a young woman on a rocky shore, a woman who looked exactly like me. Your grandmother, it whispered. My heart pounded as I realized this lighthouse had saved her life long ago. I whispered, "Thank you," tears stinging my eyes. The light flickered gently, like it was smiling. From that night on, I visited every week, speaking to the lighthouse as if it were family. And every time I left, its beam followed me home, whispering my name. That lighthouse doesn't just guide ships, it remembers souls.
Story 2. The Man Who Collected Shadows. Tonight's story takes us down a dimly lit alley, where lamplight flickers and shadows stretch like whispers. I met him there, a man with a black satchel, standing perfectly still under a broken streetlight. "Care to sell your shadow?" he asked. I laughed nervously, but his eyes were serious. He opened his satchel, revealing dozens of tiny glass bottles glowing faintly. Inside them were shadows, writhing like smoke. "Why would anyone sell their shadow?" I asked. "Because it carries your fears," he said softly. "Let me take your pain." The idea of being fearless was tempting. Against my better judgment, I agreed. He knelt, touched my ankle with a silver needle, and I felt a chill. My shadow peeled off the ground like smoke, twisting as he trapped it in a bottle. I felt light, free, invincible. Days passed, and I walked the world without fear. But soon, people stared at me with unease. My reflection was faint, almost see-through. I went back to the alley, desperate. "I want it back," I begged. He shook his head. "Once bottled, it's no longer yours." Now I walk the streets at night, casting no shadow. And sometimes, in my dreams, I see it, trapped, watching me from behind glass. Listeners, some trades are not worth making.
Story 3. The City of Glass Bridges. Imagine a city where every bridge is made of crystal clear glass. From above, it looks like a spiderweb of light over turquoise rivers. The moment I arrived, I felt like I was walking on air. People strolled gracefully, their reflections dancing beneath their feet. But beauty can be deceiving. Locals whispered of a curse: look down too long, and the bridge will crack. I laughed at the superstition, until I saw memorials etched into the railings. That night, I stayed in a small inn, unable to shake the feeling of being watched. The next day, I ventured onto the city's largest bridge. Halfway across, I glanced down. The water below seemed impossibly deep, swirling like a whirlpool of shadows. Then came the sound of cracking ice. My heart pounded as fractures spread beneath my feet. I ran, footsteps echoing like thunder. Just as the glass shattered, I leapt to safety. Breathless, I looked back, and the bridge was perfect again, like nothing had happened. Locals only shook their heads. "The city chooses," one told me. I left the next morning, never daring to look down again. And I never will.
Story 4. The Watchmaker of Forgotten Hours. There's a narrow alley in my city that people swear doesn't exist. At its end is a shop with a sign that reads, "The Watchmaker of Forgotten Hours." Inside, clocks tick in every direction, forward, backward, and sideways. The watchmaker, an old man with silver-rimmed glasses, looked at me and smiled. "What hour do you wish to erase?" he asked. I froze, unsure what he meant. He showed me a golden pocket watch. "Every person has 1 hour they'd rather forget," he said softly. An image of a car crash from years ago flooded my mind. My hands trembled. "You can take it away?" I asked. He nodded, winding the watch. The memory rewound itself before my eyes, then vanished completely. For a moment, I felt lighter, free of pain. But days later, I realized other memories were fading too. I rushed back to the shop, desperate to undo it. But the alley was gone. Now, I smile without knowing why, haunted by a sadness I can't remember. Listeners, some hours should never be forgotten.
Story 5. The Train That Didn't Stop. It was midnight when I boarded the old train, a last-minute ticket to nowhere. The station was empty, eerily silent except for the hum of fluorescent lights. The train's windows glowed faintly, but no one else was aboard. As soon as I sat down, the doors shut without a sound. The train pulled away, faster than any train I'd ever ridden. I looked out the window, but the scenery was nothing but streaks of grey. There were no stops, no announcements, just endless motion. I tried to get the conductor's attention, but there was none. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. I couldn't tell. Finally, I saw something outside. A reflection of myself staring back at me. But it wasn't me. She was older, with eyes full of sorrow, and she mouthed 2 words, "Get off." Panic surged through me. I yanked at the emergency lever, and the train screeched to a halt in total darkness. The doors opened into a dense forest. I stepped off, heart pounding, and turned back to look at the train. It was gone. Only tracks remained, stretching into an empty horizon. I still don't know where I was that night. But I do know one thing. I'll never ride a midnight train again.
Story 6. The Photographer Who Stole Faces. I met him in a crowded marketplace, an old man with a camera older than time itself. He didn't sell his photos, he gave them away for free. People lined up eagerly, smiling as he snapped their portraits. When it was my turn, he raised the camera and whispered, "Hold still." The flash felt like lightning striking my soul. I blinked, dizzy, and when I turned to thank him, he was gone. Later that night, I looked in the mirror. My reflection was blank. No eyes, no mouth, just a pale, faceless shape. I panicked, racing back to the marketplace. The old man was there, handing out photos to strangers. I saw mine, my smiling face, clutched in a child's hands. "Give it back," I shouted. The old man shook his head. "Faces are stories," he said. "And some stories don't belong to you anymore." Since that night, I wear scarves and sunglasses, hiding my empty reflection. But I know somewhere, my face is out there, smiling for someone else.
Story 7. The Hotel That Didn't Exist. After a long drive through pouring rain, I stumbled upon a glowing neon sign, "Vacancy." The hotel stood alone, its windows glowing warmly against the storm. The clerk at the front desk smiled too perfectly, handing me a brass key. I climbed the creaking stairs, eager for rest. The hallway smelled faintly of lavender and dust. My room was cozy, with antique furniture and a roaring fireplace. I sank into bed, comforted by the sound of rain on the roof. When I woke, the sun was shining. I packed my bags, thanked the clerk, and drove away. But hours later, when I tried to return to the same road, the hotel was gone. Not abandoned, not destroyed, gone. Locals swore no such hotel existed. I checked my pocket, and the brass key was still there. That night, I slept in my car, clutching the key tightly. Sometimes, when I close my eyes, I smell lavender and hear rain on a roof that isn't there.
Story 8. The Violin That Played Memories. I found it in a dusty pawn shop, tucked behind old books and cracked picture frames. The violin was beautiful, polished like sunlight, strings shimmering with age. The shopkeeper warned me, "It plays more than music." I laughed, thinking it was a sales trick. That night, I played a single note. A memory bloomed in front of me, My childhood dog running through tall grass. I froze, bow trembling in my hands. I played another note, and there was my mother, singing softly in the kitchen. I played faster, crying as every memory I had came to life around me. But then, I made a mistake. I played a melody I didn't know. And I saw a future I hadn't lived yet. Me, standing alone in an empty room, crying over an unmarked grave. I dropped the violin, heart racing. The music stopped. The vision faded. I returned it to the pawn shop the next day. But every time I pass that street, I hear faint notes following me.